so proud to be Haitian because just everything about being Haitian is just awesome.
You know, everyone know about the history of Haiti, first Black independent country in 1804.
Understanding the history of Haiti, Haitian people, you can't help but be proud of the accomplishment that have happened.
Haitian Americans have done really well in the past few years. There's still a lot more work to be done. Only about 20% of us actually have a bachelor's degree.
I understand firsthand some of the challenges that Haitian American students, graduates, and professionals have faced.
Some of them have overcome incredible adversity.
Both immigrated or asylum seekers or refugees.
There are not that many Haitian-focused scholarships, but like any other award, the NAAHP Leadership Award is providing recognition for one's hard work.
As we know, college is expensive, so this scholarship fund provides the chance for a brighter future.
It felt like the universe was speaking, like I needed the money, I was intrigued, people were telling me to apply.
Going to college or graduate school can be very, very expensive. So donating to a scholarship like this would help that expense be more manageable.
Future generation of leaders, scholars, entrepreneurs,
young adults that are trying to make something of their lives.
They are rock stars. They just need the help, and they need us to help them accomplish it.
There's like this Haitian proverb that says, "Meilleur pied palu," many hands make the load lighter.
Log in and you can donate $10, $25, $50.
It makes me think of the Malcolm X quote that education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. It makes me happy to know that our organization is contributing to that goal, preparing others for the future.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dr. Ketsia Sadler, and it is an honor to be here to speak to you this afternoon. I'm so privileged and blessed and thankful to NAAHP for reaching out to me to become one of their partners for the next few months. In addition, we are partnering with Chocarella and Book It Right Accountancy, and also my program, College Cafe. So just to tell you a little bit about me, I am a married mother of two, a nurse with 28 years of nursing experience, been a school nurse for the last 20, with passions for education and healthy children. And so today you'll get a little piece of what College Cafe offers. Our motto is no more, pay less, which means that the more you know about the college financial aid process, the less you will have to pay. So parents, students, especially you high school seniors, today is for you. We're going to be talking about the Financial Aid Award Appeal Letter. So if you can cue up the slides, we can get started. I'm accepted, now what? So congratulations to all you high school seniors who have gotten the acceptance letters from the schools that you sent in your applications. First of all, I want to say congratulations for having made it through senior year in a pandemic, going through junior year as well, taking the standardized tests and everything. I know it has been stressful. I know it's been tough, but kudos to you for having made it. It's been tough having to do online classwork, having to talk to your guidance counselors and teachers, not being able to visit colleges. So it has been hard. It's a tough thing to do anyway, and now it's made harder by having to do things remotely. So again, congratulations. But like I said, you're probably sitting there and trying to figure out, where do I go? And if finances are a problem, that's why we're here today. I'm going to walk you through the process of an appeal letter. If it's something that you've learned and have done before, great. If not, we're going to learn a little bit more about it. Next slide, please. So the acceptance letter, when you receive it, what is in it? You'll see different parts such as the federal and state grants like Pell. In New Jersey, I'm a resident of the state of New Jersey. We have EOF. In New York, right across the river, we have the HEOP. Florida has a different program. In case some of you are from the state of Florida, can you go back one, please? Can we go back one slide? In the state of Florida, we've got the Florida Student Assistance Grant Program. And then sometimes you have the federal loans, which are either direct subsidized, which mean that the interest is being paid by the government. It's not accumulating while you're in college. And then the unsubsidized, the interest is accumulating while you're in college. There are also school-based scholarships and grants, which depend on your major, your GPA. Sometimes they're based on finances as well. There are also school-based loans. And then we have that Parent Plus loan, which I always try to encourage parents not to do or not to take out. But unfortunately, if your family situation requires it, or if that's your only choice, some parents do have to use it. And then we have work study. I put work study in parentheses because it's not really considered part of financial aid, but for some students who are awarded this amount, what it does is give you funds so that you don't have to constantly call, text, or ask your parents to, or grandparents or whomever to send you, or Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, any monies for you to be able to buy books. So your work study is a job on campus that you can work a certain number of hours. And being that it's on campus, the advantage is that your professors know you're a student, so there's usually a maximum number of hours that you can work during the week, and you can work it around your class schedule. Those funds sometimes change in that if you don't use it all by the next school year, they may decrease it even if your family's finances have not changed. So, everyone who gets a letter will have either all of these components listed, some of them, or none of them. All depends on how your family's finances look to the financial aid staff after you filled out the forms such as FAFSA and the CSS profile, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Next slide, please. So I want to talk a little bit about the types of colleges and universities because the different schools may have an impact on the funding that you are awarded. So when we look at public versus private schools, so we're talking in the state of New Jersey, Rutgers versus Princeton, or in New York, we're looking at a SUNY versus a Cornell. The private schools sometimes and usually have more endowments, meaning they have more financial aid available from people who've graduated, who left a certain scholarship for a particular student majoring in whatever their area of interest is. The public universities get more funding from the state, so they may not always have as much money available. Now, when we look at the in-state versus out-of-state schools, the problem is that you can't transfer your state money from one state to another. So if you're in New Jersey getting EOF money and for whatever reason you decide to go to New York because you're not a resident of the state of New York, you can't take that EOF money with you, and you don't qualify to get any HEOP money either. So that's something to keep in mind. And then, so I have a little demographic down there showing the difference in out-of-state and in-state tuitions. So for the year 2019-2020, you see the fees for Rutgers and Princeton. So for a student who is a resident of New Jersey, Rutgers was about $15,000 tuition. And I'm not even talking, that's just tuition. We're not talking about your room and board. So for a New Jersey resident, about 15. If you came from any other state, you paid about 32,000. When we look at Princeton, whether you're a New Jersey resident or any other of the 50 states, the tuition stays the same. So you have to think about, in addition to that $52,000 number, you still have room and board on top of it. So that's why the numbers matter, especially when we're looking at our financial aid information. Next slide, please. So we're going to look at the federal and state loans and grants. Those are determined by FAFSA. All 4,000 schools in the United States use FAFSA. The loans, these are loans which are initially taken out just by the student and you have to pay them back. Again, they include the subsidized, unsubsidized loans. And then when we look at the grants, though the Pell Grant, which is federal, is one that does not need to be paid back at all. And then the EOF grants, or the state funded grants, those are monies, again, that we said you can only use for a state in which you reside, and that's money that you do not need to pay back. The last link that is at the bottom there is one where there are some states in the Midwest. I don't remember exactly all of them, but let's use, for instance, Wisconsin and Michigan. If you lived in Wisconsin, you could transfer those state grant monies to Michigan and vice versa. Unfortunately, on the East Coast, it doesn't work the same. So, and there's a lot more competition in some ways. So you're not seeing that grant money being transferred between New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. So another thing to keep in mind. Next slide, please. So the TRIO fund is one that, again, they're federal funded programs that the schools develop programs for and apply to the federal government to get. And there's a few of them listed there, and other programs such as Upward Bound programs as well can apply for those type of fundings. So those are funds that if you went to a school that had funds for that particular program, you could be awarded that amount of funding, but it's not monies that you could apply for yourself. Okay, next slide, please. So let's talk about the school-based scholarships and grants. They're also based on FAFSA, the form that you have to fill out, which is for free. And if you ever go on a website and you see the FAFSA asking for a fee to pay for it, then that's the wrong site. That application is totally free. It has to be filled out every year you're in college. So as seniors, you should have already filled it out months ago for a freshman year at college, and every subsequent year for the following year, you'll be doing it. The Css Profile is a little bit different because it's mostly just private schools that use it. There's only about maybe 300 or so schools that require it. It's not a free form, unfortunately. There's a base fee that you pay, and then for every additional school that you're applying to as a senior, there's a fee. Now, if you decide in the future that the school that you'll be attending for the next 4 years requires the Css Profile, then every year you're in school, you have to fill out the Css Profile and make sure that you pay whatever the fee is. So that's really, like I said, to these school-based scholarships and grants, where sometimes the scholarships are based upon looking at your finances and or your grades. And I always tell families, let the schools tell you no. Don't always say that, well, I think I make too much money, so I'm not going to fill out the forms. You never know. Even if your finances may not allow your child to be awarded something on based on finances, but if there's a merit scholarship and they have your financial information, your child still may qualify. So always fill out whatever paperwork they ask you to fill out. The thing that is to note about sometimes with these school-based scholarships and grants, that if your GPA, if it's based upon your GPA, if your grades fall below that particular number, and a lot of times it's a 2.5 or 3.0, whatever it is, you can lose that money. So you really need to pay attention, students, once you get into college, to make sure that you're using all your resources available to make sure that you're not losing out on monies. And again, the school-based scholarships and grants can only be used at that particular school. So if you go to Princeton and decide you want to transfer to Cornell, you can't take that school-based money with you. And again, school-based scholarships and grants do not need to be paid back. Next slide, please. Okay, the Parent Plus loan, as I had said in the beginning, that is a loan which sometimes when you look at the financial aid package for your child, it looks as if it's monies awarded to your child, but it actually isn't. That's monies that the parent would have to apply for in order to pay for their child's education. What some schools will do, though, is if the parent applies for the funding and they're rejected, sometimes the school will increase the child's financial aid. There's not a guarantee of that, but it is an option. And you can either apply through federal programs for the Parent Plus loans and other private resources, and depending on the school, they may provide you with the information on how to apply for that Parent Plus loan. Next slide, please. Okay, front-loaded financial aid packages. If you've never heard of that term before, it's okay. I myself wasn't aware of it until about 3 or 4 years ago. So what the front-loaded financial aid package is one where your child is going to a school that, say, it costs $50,000. The school awards you 30. That meant out of pocket, you're only paying 20,000. The following year, your family's finances have not changed at all, and for whatever reason, they've decreased your package? So that's a very good question to ask financial aid officers when you're touring the schools, or right now, if you're a senior, to email the financial aid office to find out, okay, will my child still be able to get the same financial aid package if our finances do not change next year? Of course, we know that tuition and costs may increase. So if the costs are increasing, will my package still be the same in order to balance what my out-of-pocket costs would be? Next slide, please. Okay, so on this slide, I have a sample financial aid awards packages just to show you what the numbers would look like as far as why parents would need to fill out the Parent Plus loan. So if we look at School A, both schools cost $50,000. School A awards a student $40,000, and that's just the student's money. It's not including any Parent Plus loans. Now, when you had done your financial aid forms such as FAFSA and CSS, it said that out of pocket you can only pay about $10,000. So if you've only got $10,000 left after your child's financial aid award, then you're going to go zero. And again, the out of pocket varies depending on books, transportation, things like that. So you could handle 10,000, your balance was 10,000, you're okay. Now School B only awards your child $20,000. There's a balance left of 30. You know you can only pay 10,000. So where is that 20,000 coming from? That's why some families end up using the Parent Plus loan. So some schools will offer the Parent Plus loan in order to pay that balance. So that's why I usually talk to parents, and I do other webinars where we talk about how do I not have to take out these Parent Plus loans? And those are scholarships that your children should have been doing since the beginning of the school year. And even there are other scholarships that students can apply for starting as juniors in order to get scholarship money, so that out of pocket, that red 20,000 decreases, so parents do not have to take out very minimal of the Parent Plus loan. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so like I said, so now you're a senior, you've gotten accepted to 3 different schools. Now you're looking at your financial aid package. I recommend that sometimes if you're a visual person like me, you may need to set up a chart where you're putting the school's name, the amount of federal money you're getting, the amount of in school-based scholarships, work study, things like that, just to compare the schools. The main thing though is that you can only compare apples and apples and oranges, meaning that we're only comparing state schools. So for New York residents, you can only compare SUNY schools to each other. You can't compare a SUNY and a Cornell. For New Jersey residents, we're comparing private schools such as Princeton because we only have the one Ivy. So you're comparing Princeton with, say, Seton Hall, or you can compare Rutgers and Montclair to each other. So this appeal letter is letting the financial aid office know that the package that they awarded the student is not enough to meet the family's needs. Okay, so you can only pay 10,000. So if they're not awarding you enough money, so your out of pocket is only going to be 10, then you need more money. Now, we really need to make sure, especially in light of COVID, that our finances have changed. Remember, when you're filling out FAFSA last fall, it was looking at your taxes from 2019. So in 2020, if your family's finances change, whereas a parent lost their job or was ill due to COVID and as a result lost their job, you need to let the family know that. You need to make sure, you need to make the school aware of that information. They're not going to know that unless you tell them. So it's very important. That's why we have these appeal letters, because schools need to know about any changes in your finances, letting them know that you can't, you can't, that the money they're offering you is not going to be enough to make it to that school. And the one thing you can do also is, as I said, comparing apples and apples and oranges. So for instance, if you had Montclair and Rutgers as your 2 top schools, but you really want to go to Montclair and Rutgers gave you a better package, you can send that Rutgers package to Montclair and say, I'd really like to attend Montclair University, but Rutgers is giving me more money. Can you match it, or can you do better? And usually they will match it or do better within their means. So at that point, it's up to you to see which one is working better for you. And vice versa, the private school, same thing. If you get into Cornell but really wanted to go to Columbia and Cornell gave you more money, send that Cornell letter to Columbia and see what they do for you. Next slide. So again, like I said in the appeal letter, you're looking at giving all the information that has changed about your family's finances since you filled out those FAFSA and CSS profile forms if necessary. Some schools have a form, and then you can have a free text where you can write what your family's finances are. So make sure you know what additional forms you need to fill out, what additional paperwork is needed, and be factual, be honest, because you need something from them, and so you have to be willing to give them information about you. And don't miss deadlines, because a lot of schools are going to say that our deadline for this particular for the appeals is such and such a time. And I know that right now, May 1st is the deadline for you to submit your deposits to whatever college you decide to attend. So we've got about 13 days to get that done. So once we're done today, I would suggest definitely that you sit down, write your letter, proofread it, whatever needs to be done. That way you can make sure that all the information is in there. And I know families who have done it, and appeal can also be done in future years as well. If your finances have changed, you can always write that appeal letter. If there's anyone who's currently in college who's listening to me, you can definitely do that. And I've helped families do that, where they wrote the letter, because it needs to come from you, because you're the ones who know what your situation is. So it has to be personal. I would just help you to make sure that you're putting things in the correct order, and maybe help you to make sure that you're navigating and putting the right information there. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so we're here at the last slide. So that's pretty much most of what I wanted to tell you. What you see there are my contact information. There's a Facebook page. If you're on Instagram, you can also follow us there, College Cafe _. My email address is there as well. If you send an email to me, I would definitely put you on the email blast. I send out emails about twice a week with information on the college process, scholarships that are coming up. And what I try to do is put the subject of the scholarship in there, so you know whether it applies to you. And if your children are only in elementary school, that's okay, because I sometimes get resources for that as well. And I also send out internship information for students who are in college as well, because again, you still need money while you're in school. So definitely always make sure you ask the questions. Always make sure you stay in contact, because that's how you'll find out the information. And make time, if your schedule is so busy, maybe you might need to set aside a day or an evening where that's your day for checking out on emails. You don't want to miss out on any opportunities for getting funding. So I see some questions in the chat, so I'm going to start addressing those first. So first question, how do I qualify for loan forgiveness? It really depends. So yes, if some people are in the Peace Corps, there are programs for them. Military may have programs as well. As an educator in a public school system, I am eligible for it, to get monies for that. So it really depends. I would suggest that you contact whatever the program is, whether it's Sally Mae, Great Lakes, and I forget the other name of the programs who actually control your loans, the funder or whoever is helping you to pay back your loans. I would contact them to see if they have a loan forgiveness program that you can qualify to send an application for. So depending on certain jobs, you can be able to get funding or get your loans forgiven, and that's a major thing. I know President Biden is also talking about loan forgiveness programs, and initially it was something to the effect of people from certain schools like HBCUs were eligible for them. I'm not sure if that has changed, but definitely contact whoever you're making your payments to for your student loans to see if you qualify for those loan forgiveness programs. So I see the question about work study. Work study is one when a student gets their financial aid award letter, you'll see work study listed usually at the bottom. And so work study is not considered part of financial aid, but it definitely is important because it's funding that it's extra money that I see the question is it money to have fun with? Well, depending on your family, you may really need that money to buy your books. So I would say let's prioritize when you get that paycheck. Remember, you're only working about 20 hours a week, which is a lot. So maybe 10 hours a week, depending on what the rate is. I'm not even sure what the hourly rate is on a campus right now. When I was at Barnard College, you're talking some 30 odd years ago, I was making 4.25 an hour. So whatever the rate is per hour is what you'll be making a week. So if you're not working that much, you can definitely, you'll get a little paycheck. So, but like I said, let's prioritize first. Let's make sure our books are paid. Let's make sure that you set aside money if you're traveling. Sometimes we're going to school out of state. My children, my oldest is a Syracuse graduate. My youngest went to Cornell University. And so they at a certain point were able to take the bus home from their schools, and we'd go and pick them up in Manhattan somewhere, or my younger son for Cornell, he would get off the bus in on Route 17 in Bergen County. And so they would pay for their own bus ticket. So that's what I would say. Now, of course, things are going to happen. You may want, if there's a Starbucks on campus, you may want to go and buy Starbucks. So that's a little extra money. But I would say if you know your family is struggling to help pay your tuition and you're the out of pocket for college, let's make sure that we're being responsible with our monies. And since we're talking about money, I want to say to the students, when you go buy your books, you will notice that sometimes they will have a credit card application in there. Do not apply for credit cards. If you don't walk away with anything today, that is one point I want you to remember is credit cards are once you are established and have a job with health benefits, that's when you look at credit cards, and credit cards should only be used if you know you can pay off that balance at the end of the month. If you can't, then I would say to not get credit cards. All right. And so you have to be careful also. Some of the schools with your ID have those where you can charge things like, for instance, your meal plan. You have a meal card on your ID, but sometimes there are places on campus where you can eat where they're not using your meal points. And so you can charge that on your ID. Be careful with that as well, because those end up being extra money that parents will sometimes have to pay. So let's make the responsible decisions. And sometimes you may have to do that, but let's not make it a habit, because we don't want our families to have to pay all that extra monies when they're already struggling. So if there are any more questions, you can type them in the chat. My email address is drkas@collegecafeonline.org. Capital D, lowercase r, KAS, my initials, at collegecafeonline.org. Please feel free to email me. I am here as a resource. I'm from Haiti, so to my Haitian families, I am here for you all. My parents left Haiti in my dad in 69, my mom in 70, and raised all of us 7 kids here in the States. So I'm really trying to help, my Haitian families to make sure that our parents, you all, can help your kids to go to school and not have to pay a whole lot of money for it. So please make sure you reach out to me. If you need to call me, send me an email and we can reach out. And if you need to talk to me further, I will I will call you, leave me your email or your phone number, your cell number, and I will definitely call you and talk to you. We've got, like I said, I'm excited to be partnering with NAAHP and Shokarela Book Accountancy for next few months of workshops. In May, we're going to be doing a workshop with a good parent partner friend of mine. She has a program called Parent Matters, and she is the guru of internships, all types of programs to make sure that students have exposure. Because definitely you have to be exposed, because honestly, when you are only 16, 17 years old, people say to you, what do you want to do when you grow up? It's a really tough question to figure out. So the only way you will do that is by doing internships, whether right now some of them may be online due to COVID, but being able to go out and do the and do an internship with, say you want to be a veterinarian but you don't have any pets, you might need to work with a vet to see if you really want to be around dogs and cats and snakes and geckos and whatever it is that people are bringing into the offices. So that's going to be on in May, so look out for the information to join that. And of course, May 12th, NAAHP is sponsoring a workshop on your college planning, on building your college resume, because when you get to college, excellent grades are great, but they want to see, what are you doing in your free time? What clubs have you joined? Do you have a job or an internship? What do you do during the summers? Summertime is really important for any parents who have students who are juniors or lower years in high school. Definitely summers, I always recommend to do programs on college campuses, because that gives you an opportunity to be able to explore different majors, take classes on campus for credit. And so what that does is, if you graduate high school with about 30 credits under your belt, that means that's about almost a year's worth of time that you can shave off of your college time, which less time you're in college, less money is coming out of your pocket. So definitely make sure that you join that workshop so you can know how to build your college resume. And like I said, when you are in college, future employers will want to know if you have actually worked during the summer. My older son, when he was a junior in college, the summer between junior and senior year, he worked for a local company here in Bergen County, which allowed him to make money. I think he was making about $14 an hour. And in addition, they offered him a $5,000 scholarship. So that was monies that they gave to him. We sent it to the school, so that helped to increase our out of pocket. So sometimes certain programs that you're part of, that was part of the United Negro College Fund, even though he was not a UNCF at a UNCF school, he still was able to join that program and get this internship, make money in the summer during college, and get money towards scholarships. So your summer hours are going to be very, very important. Don't forget, donate to the NAAHP Leadership Award Scholarship. And please make sure you donate to NAAHP, because they're doing a great service out here to the community. So make sure that you support the program. Are there any more questions from anybody? Okay, so like I said, again, thank you again to my partners, NAAHP, Shokarela, Book It Accountancy, and of course, College Cafe, my program. It is my way of giving back and supporting our community and making sure that our children are going to college and not having to pay a whole lot of money for it. So follow us, check out the website, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and we hope to see you the next time. Have a great day.